All right. Good morning, everybody. It's Rabbi Joseph Kolakowski, the Koblenzer Rebbe, answering questions on Quora. Question here is: what's the process of making kosher wine, and why can't regular wine be used? A very good question. Thank you for asking. I wish Quora would still have the names of the people asking the questions. They used to have that, because it's always nice to give a shout out to the people asking the questions. In any event, the process of making kosher wine is not really different in the process than any other wine. The main issue is, why can't regular wine be used? That's really the big question here. The distinction between kosher wine and non-kosher wine is as follows. Or I think the better way to approach it is, what makes wine not kosher? All the ingredients are kosher ingredients. Why is wine treated differently? Wine and for the most part grape juice, according to most opinions, are treated differently than any other, vegan item, certainly outside the Holy Land. And the answer is because in the book of Deuteronomy, there is mention of the wine of the idolatrous libations in the Song of Moses, the end of what we call Parshas Ha'azinu, which would be Deuteronomy 32, I believe. And from there, our sages indicate that there's a biblical prohibition against using any wine that was offered to an idol. And in that sense, the rabbis therefore said that anyone who might be suspect of idolatry would therefore, if they would pick up and pour some wine, we might suspect that they may be offering the wine for idolatry. And so therefore, we have a rabbinical prohibition that is rather quite extensive, even beyond what the biblical prohibition is. So like I said, the biblical prohibition is only for something that we know to have been offered to an idol. But in general, we have a rule that if there is a doubt in a biblical prohibition, we are strict. And so if we don't know and we have a good reason to doubt, that would already be under that rubric of a biblical prohibition. And it's interesting, why is only wine? Because in some religions, certain pagan religions, I think instead of wine, use honey mead, but we don't have a similar prohibition that is extensive. If we know that the honey mead was offered to an idol, then it would be prohibited. But just being in that doubtful state, we wouldn't have. This is not a racial issue for two reasons. One, anyone from any race could convert to Judaism, and if they are a pious Jew, they can make kosher wine. And someone who may be what's generally called born Jewish, meaning they're not a Gentile, but they're not practicing Judaism, even to the point of someone who, according to most opinions, if they openly violate the Sabbath, which would pretty much eliminate the vast majority of people who identify as Jewish in the world today, cannot make kosher wine. And if they would pick up kosher wine that has not been pasteurized yet, that wine becomes not kosher, at least on a rabbinical level, and possibly even on a biblical level, because there are opinions that say that the usage of wine, to a certain extent, I know the Shinover Rav said that wine that was made by secularists in the Holy Land was biblically prohibited, and Rabbi Cheskel Shraga Halberstam taught that. I don't know if he's saying that in a colloquial sense as somewhat of an exaggeration, or he was actually making a halachic ruling there. It would seem in the context he was actually making a legal ruling. Halachic meaning within the realm of Jewish law. So it's a very serious thing, and that's where it basically comes down to. And so that's why other wine cannot be used, because we don't know. And even if we know that they don't, there's still a rabbinical prohibition. Meaning, for example, Muslims, we know, do not use wine at all. They're not allowed to have wine. They're not allowed to have alcohol. And yet, if a Muslim handles kosher wine that hasn't been cooked yet, that wine at least becomes rabbinically prohibited. And the practical difference between that is that you can do business with, you're only not allowed to drink rabbinically prohibited wine, but biblically prohibited wine, you can't even derive any benefit. You can't do business with it. You can't even use it. The case where the Shinovarov was discussing, he pretty much said that there was a biblical prohibition. It was a case where there was and that was a legal case where it was for a healing medicinal purpose. But he said it's better to use Gentile wine that's only rabbinically prohibited than wine from secular people who identify as Jewish, which in his opinion was biblically prohibited. So that was an actual rabbinical legal ruling that Rabbi Halberstam made. A lot of people are not aware of that. Again, that's only talking on the level of that particular case, in that particular community. That's the authority that he has over those who are asking him in his community. But it's a very strong statement there. But in any event, once wine or grape juice has been pasteurized, as long, meaning if it was kosher and then it was cooked, then the understanding is that that wine is of a lower quality and would not be used in idolatrous worship. And actually, the truth was, in the temple, would not have been used for the worship of the God of the Bible either. Would not have been used either. So that's another point that's there. When it comes to grape juice, in general, in Orthodox Jewish circles, we say that the grape juice also has the same rules. However, the truth of the matter is, grapes are cooked before they're made into grape juice, and no human hand touches them. So there probably is not as much of a prohibition, more than a customary prohibition, I would say. As far as grape juice, at least in America, most types of grape juice are actually, in fact, kosher. However, there is good reason to be strict, and I personally am strict. I don't use any grape juice that doesn't have a reliable kosher supervision on it. Beyond that, again, this is within the Orthodox Jewish community. In the conservative movement, they have made a ruling that what's generally called non-kosher wine is, by their standards, kosher, but not for sacramental purposes. Now, historically, there was a lot of leniency in general, even in Orthodox Jewish circles, about non-kosher wine, particularly in France and in Germany, and the rabbis fought against that. This idea that only kosher wine can be used ceremonially and other wine is otherwise kosher is an anomaly, and it doesn't really make sense to me halachically. And so I strongly disagree with that ruling of the conservative movement. It's either one or the other, first of all, and not only that, but The major issue is that they don't have the authority to override an older ruling that was a rabbinical ruling until there's a Sanhedrin to change a rabbinical ruling like that. That it has to be a Sanhedrin that is greater in wisdom and in number. So these are the reasons why. So thank you for watching. God bless. Please like, share, and subscribe, comment, and we'll see you later. And also, again, not only it's not racist, because some Jews are excluded, and people who are born not Jewish but converted are included and allowed to have, if someone wants to be able to make kosher wine, they have the choice to convert to Judaism. But also, it's not discriminatory against people who identify as Jewish who are not observant, because they too can repent. And so if your feelings are hurt by this Jewish law, and you're someone of Jewish stock, and you identify as Jewish, I would encourage you to repent. At least, basics. Keep the Sabbath, keep, kosher. I'm not saying you have to be ultra-Orthodox and grow a beard and pay or strimal and all that stuff. That's all cultural. That's not necessary. But when it comes to the basics, and I'm not even saying that you have to join an Orthodox synagogue. I would say someone who's, because they have certain feelings about the egalitarianism and things, as long as they're Shomer Torah mitzvahs, as long as they keep the Sabbath, they keep kosher, they keep Taras Mishpacha, they pray. The fact that they want to go to some place where they practice differently than us as far as the egalitarian issues, which aren't as important halachically, I would say such a person is still in certain circles, they probably wouldn't hire you to work at Kedem. But nonetheless, Me'ikar Adin, you would be okay. So that's what I'm saying to you. With probably Kedem, they're only going to hire you if you're really Orthodox. So, or any major, all the different wine companies, Armin or whatever else. All right. God bless. Please like, share, and subscribe, comment, and we'll see you later.